my style inspiration comes from my mom, first of all.
Wow.
I think growing up, I used to see my mom, and my dad used to complain, why do you have so many clothes? I don't understand. But my mom used to have so much drip, you know? She'd dress up, she'd look nice and everything like that. I'll be done with my day probably by like 6 p.m.
That's a long day.
Yeah, I'll be done with my day at 6 p.m. At that time, I just maybe come home or maybe I'll go somewhere, drink tea or something like that.
Wait, so
By
all this time you kunywa chai?
No, I'm not.
And was there a bus?
No. There was no bus.
If you ever go to a rotation and you see a bus, Omechanga.
26. This is
The Burger Podcast.
This is the Brunch Club. Over 26.
welcome back to
The mics are closed.
Now, when you watch it, you'll understand.
What up, my name is Chaxy, the mastermind, your main guy, the Lord Chaxy, the beautiful Mariah is around, the amazing Mwass is around, the whole gang is around, episode 81, we are my friends!
Let's go.
And it goes without saying, Owich is in the building!
Episode 82.
Yeah.
82, damn!
What'd you say?
81.
81.
We did 81 in the morning.
Nah, that's cool,
Yeah.
it's fine, it's
just
fine.
82.
Wow,
Yeah.
82nd episode.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That is wild. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank
bro.
you.
Thank you, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Karibu.
Bro, you
you
look
for
fly
having
as
us.
hell.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
those
man.
pants are sick.
Thank you, man. I try.
And you smell nice.
thank
like,
you.
no,
Mwangi is
Mwangi,
late.
come on.
Mwangi can't relate.
Sides.
Mwangi.
Is it because... Is it because my pants don't have prints?
Because one armpit doesn't have.
I was telling this guys I ran out of Dio one side in the morning before I came.
No, Anto, would you leave the house?
How do you run out of deal one side? One side.
Like this. Alafu. Like I shook it.
Anto, in this situation, what would you do?
No, I'd just rock it the way he did.
Yeah.
That's confidence.
been
I love
working
it.
like
I
this.
love it. You just
Wait, so
rock
was he
it.
supposed to not come record the podcast?
Yeah.
6 months.
Was it supposed to...
You improvise.
But
How?
What?
Lemons.
everything you do on that side, the side you've had Marashi, that's the side you interact with people.
Actually, it's this side, yeah. Because I'm right-handed, so I start here. Okay.
Oh my God.
But I chotted kidogo.
Okay, yeah, you're delusional for real.
But how are you, bro?
I'm good, man. It's been a hectic day, but I'm good. I'm blessed.
We have time. We have time. We have time.
To say the least, I'm blessed and I'm glad I'm here. It's been a roller coaster of emotions the whole day, but
Okay.
I'm glad I'm here. Thanks for
Bless
having
you.
me.
Bless you.
Nah. Question, right?
Do you want to just get it out there?
Yeah, just say it. Just say it.
We have time.
Plenty.
And tell us how you told us.
Yes.
Tell them how you told us.
So when I got here, they asked me, so how's your day been and everything like that? I just told them, listen, I've come from some wedding. And then later, as I was like, oh, what wedding? Who was the bride? Who's the groom? I told them it's my sister's wedding.
Imagine.
Some wedding.
It was a wedding. It was a
There's a tweet I wrote out some time back. I was like, women will Insta story their whole day. And then the guy will just be like with a plate of food. The food here is nice. And he's the groom.
True.
Or like a boomerang of kids dancing. And then it's like kids dancing.
How
crazy.
curious, right? How do you normally introduce yourself? Like to people who are not familiar.
You know, funny enough, when I thought about how I'm going to introduce myself after you did your whole Chaxy, I was like, how am I going to introduce myself? So before I used to introduce myself from a corporate background, but now I just introduce myself. I'm Antony. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman. I'm a culture curator. I'm a God-fearing man. And
Repeat that again.
God-fearing man.
Hallelujah.
And I'm a learner as well. So that's how I introduce myself today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are you a rich guy?
Rich is a matter of perspective.
He's a rich guy. That's how rich guys are supposed to
Where? No, it's a matter of perspective. Dude, did you fall in or not?
No, but it's true. But what is being rich? Tell me what being rich is.
Is
Being
you
rich is
balling
not
or
being-
not?
is not being able to answer that question.
Okay, let me
Being rich is, are you rich? And then you're like, health is wealth.
let me break it down for you. You'll never see me. You know those things in the club?
Yeah.
Dorime, never. So
And I'm glad you guys don't do the
Funny
remain.
enough, but the way, yeah.
And I'm glad you guys don't do the
no,
remain.
Nice, thank you.
But
Let us
I'm
say
that
Kaupo
guy who
Gemini.
you'll see me. I'm mentally rich. I'll say that. I'm physically rich. I'm very self-aware. and I have a very rich community around me. So that's friends, family. So in that sense, I'd say I am.
That's what a
Oh,
rich
yeah.
man
Why,
would
money
say.
wise?
Manas, I'm doing okay.
It's money you can enjoy.
If I was to get married tomorrow, trust
You
me,
straight.
tutachanga.
Kwanza unasema hivyo on a Sunday.
It's a community thing.
On a
It's
Sunday.
No, it's
a
not.
community thing.
Okay.
Honestly, it's a
can we
community
have shares
thing.
of you and your wife if it's a community
If
thing?
you want.
So let me ask. Today's wedding, some wedding you're at.
We already know.
Walichanga.
No.
They came. What is the biggest car there?
So those numerous cars outside actually,
Okay.
and it was just an introduction. So it was a very beautiful ceremony. The groom came, introduced himself and the family and everything like that, and they didn't changa. I think there's an element of being blessed and being privileged, which is a good thing. So from that sense, I can say yeah.
And was there a bus?
No, there was no bus.
If you ever go to a rotation, you see a bus. Wamechanga.
Do you know the best way to get rid of bus people? Destination wedding.
True.
Destination wedding.
My cousin got married in Denis, so that Shags people can't come. They were there.
Really?
Yeah, and you know
But
how...
those guys, they'll do anything.
And then it was a tight, like, I think 80-person thing. And then
Yeah.
all the invites were like, admits one. And they still came.
I think they
And
will,
with
All the way to
kids.
Diani's
they will
chair,
come.
everything,
They
ferry.
will come. They will come.
Yeah, so they had to pay extra for the dinner, and it was like, I think 5,000 per plate.
No.
Because it was counted. Yeah, it was crazy. But see, tulikula pia. How are you going to say no to your aunt from Moranga?
No, you can't. You
In
can't.
Diani, you can't come in.
can't.
Yeah.
Nah, it was crazy.
Are you still in school? Are you done?
I am done.
Yeah.
Funny enough is I was in school. I was building a business. And at the same time, I had a tragedy in my life. But that's the whole thing about, I feel like once you set your mind to something, you can ultimately do it. I mean, I was coming from Biashara. In the evening, I have my little Zoom call. I remember in class to a point when, because I did my master's at the heart of COVID. So when the online classes ended, I remember now going to physical classes. Guys are looking at me in class and like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
I'm like, education never ends. Because to them, you're like, you're good, you know?
Yeah.
But to a certain extent, I feel like elevation, whether mentally or otherwise, never stops.
That's true.
Never stops.
But you did your master's, what course?
USIU, I did an MBA focusing on marketing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your undergrad?
Economics and statistics.
Hey, you smart.
So you know how to use Excel.
Yeah.
Mangi, that's your takeaway.
Control,
I feel like-
Control C, Control V.
V.
That's all you need to
I honestly feel like Excel is harder than the course itself.
do. No, 100%.
Everyone I've seen who knows how to use Excel well, I think you even add it on your CV. Because Excel is just
Yes,
the
a
formulas
lot.
and everything.
Yeah.
I know how to load things there, but I don't know how to make things happen.
Yeah.
These are birthdays. You can
You and
automate
Kelly
them. If you
Rowland,
press
one
this,
side.
I'm like, what? Yeah, she was texting on Excel. And then complaining that the nigga didn't text back. I was like,
But
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn Excel. I literally just started like on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like I somehow need to understand.
Yeah,
how to
understand
use
it.
I mean, same Control V, Control C, very,
Yeah.
very, very, very,
very
very
well.
good.
Like Diamond.
Anyway, I can make things bold, italics.
Is your lecturer on YouTube an Indian person? Because that's the only way you...
So
You
there's
learn.
a lot of
Yeah.
Indian lecturers on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh yeah, always.
If your
man.
lecturer is Antony Owich,
I should change.
Indians take it personally. They even call you my son or daughter if you're watching this from across the world. I want you to know that there's nothing you cannot excel at. And then they teach you. It feels very personal.
Dude.
Yeah.
Did you meet Babowino when you were doing your undergrad?
I don't know if I should say fortunate or unfortunate. but
Fortunately, because you're alive at least.
I did not. But in the corridors, I heard he's passed here.
Oh.
So we used to pitana and everything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's back in UN.
back in UN.
Yeah.
correct.
Did he used to walk around with like ambogi?
He was never in the building, but you just hear me, Peter. He's around.
No, but he's done like 4 degrees.
I'm
That
telling
was
you,
enough.
but you will see him in class very once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got like A's in everything.
Of
But
course.
I've interacted with the man. Very, very, very sharp guy.
True.
Very sharp guy.
Okay.
Very sharp guy.
Hakuna
That I
tabia
can
mbaya
say.
tu.
Ako na ujaluo mo.
Anna home training. Okay.
So just growing up, right? Because your dad was a diplomat. if I'm not wrong?
Yes.
Which countries?
So he did Pakistan and he did Egypt. So those are the countries he did. Yeah.
Nice.
Did that influence how you see the world? Like, I'm sure you went to visit.
No, definitely. So I'll take you back. So I grew up in Nairobi West.
Okay.
So went to, I think, Nairobi West Primary School. And then post that, I remember there was a shift. I remember, so when I look back, the little memories I have is being on an airplane, landing in a foreign country. Didn't know jack shit about their language or everything like that, but I went to an international school. So there was a radical shift from Nairobi West to going to an international school. And then at that point, there was small privileges where you're being picked up by a driver. In school, you see some Indian guys, some Jungu guys. So that was culture shock for me a little bit. So that was my first time at least experiencing something different. And that came with at least the benefit of him working for the government at that point. We hit the trenches at some point, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But that
Let's focus on the good part.
That was the good part, yeah. That was the good part.
Okay. I'm curious. I'm trying to remember when I met you. Were you at PRK or you at Carlsberg?
PRK.
is it
that was when I was working for Jameson, yeah.
Yeah, Jameson.
yeah,
meet
actually,
yeah.
So then, when you're done with the uni, take me through. Now you're getting into hustling.
Oh, man.
First job, everything. Like, yeah, what happened? So you're done
man.
with uni, or you're still in uni?
Oof. You know, a lot of people look at me, they're like, oh, this guy looks like he had a soft life and everything.
Truly.
I'm just like, yo, I wish you knew. So when I was in uni, I remember, this is part of the trenches bit, but it's a blessing because I learned a lot of things, right? So when I was in uni, I remember I still wanted to dress well because there were certain guys in school that would dress well and then you're in class and everything like that. But I just couldn't get clothes, right? Because I'd go to my dad, I'm like, yo, I need X amount to get this and that. And then he'd say, oh, I don't have money, whatever. And it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
Then I just got to a point, I'm like, what am I going to do? So first thing I did was I got a job in industrial area, right?
When you're in uni?
In uni.
As?
I used to, hey, if I tell you what I was doing, my God.
No, you have to.
So let's just say I was Willy Wonka in a chocolate factory.
So overall and everything.
Not overall. So, it sounds nice, but I used to work at Cadbury's. So there was this conveyor belt that was bringing in chocolates. So all I used to do is pack the chocolates in a little bag and then I push it to the side. So I'd do that from, I think it was 8 p.m. until like morning or something like that.
Damn.
Yeah. And then
Because
they'd
he's
pay
in school
me.
during the day.
How much would they pay
So
me?
when do you sleep?
I just figured out how to do it. I don't know, because I'd be home by like 4, and then my classes would start in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I'd sleep from like 4 till midday, and then I'd go to class. But let me not lie to you that I did that job for like a year or 2 years. I did it for 2 months. I was like,
Exactly. I'm like,
Wait,
I was
what
like,
is
this
the pay?
is not it. 350 a day.
850 a day.
350
Overnight.
shillings.
So
Yeah.
3 days a G.
Wow.
But it was good. 350 then I could get a decent pair of jeans at the end of the week. I could get
This
like
was
a
just for
nice shirt
clothes.
at the end of the week. That was it. Just clothes and maybe
Drip,
one
drip is a
date.
turtle, baby.
Something like that. One date, you'd go for one date in a month or something like that, you're good.
Nice.
Back then, things were a bit cheap. But the 3-piece was like 3 sock.
3 piece was less.
For real.
I think it was 3. It was 3 sock, yeah.
Damn.
It was 3
I
sock.
remember because not just there's a time I caught a chicken in those zile kukupono was like less than 100.
Sanfords.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Sanfords and the whatever's. With 150, you'd eat like half
A
a
whole
chicken, fries,
meal.
and a soda.
How much is a 3 piece now?
Oof, like 600 maybe.
Yeah, around
Yeah,
there.
650 actually.
Almost doubled actually.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
If you add coleslaw and a soda, you're at 9. Might as well just give them a G.
Then how did you move? Then you moved from there?
So I moved from there. I started working for True Black.
Big Kev.
Big Kev, the late. With
May soul rest in
rest his
peace.
peace. So I started working for Big Kev. But even the job I got under Big Kev was like a licensing officer where I used to work for Performance Rights Society of Kenya, something like that. And they just launched this new license. So I was going with the Naskari, you gotta get this license. You gotta get it. So they had to pay for it. So I did that for like, I think 6 months or like a year, something thereabout. But in between, Big Kev gave us opportunities. He was like, with this licensing job, you can only make X amount, right? But I run numerous activations. If you feel like you have the energy and the time, there's a, for example, this brand is activating. They need male brands, promoters, whatever it was. So I did that. So there was extra income coming in. So that I did for like, I think 6 months thereabout. Yeah.
Is this still for clothes? Am I now your...
No, this
perspective
was-
shifted?
Hey, I was dating
is
some. I was
Apakapo.
dating some babe from Runda.
Sure, true.
So pressure was tough. And then at that time, I was living in Doni. So pressure was tough. So these people were like, oh, babe, you go meet at I don't know what, Cedars, I don't know where, things like that. Places I had to Google first, check the menu, check the budget, and things like that. So there was that pressure, but there was also that pressure of being independent, you know? Yeah.
Okay. So is that so at Big Kev with the activations? Is that your introduction to the beverages industry?
That's my introduction to the beverage industry.
Yeah.
That's my introduction to business. That's my also introduction to how, quote unquote, the world works. You know?
Okay. Then, sorry.
No, my question is silly. At what point do you make that, you know, that money that I have money? Not at a lot of it. Like, you know how maybe if your account is just used to seeing 1,000 bob in and out.
Yeah.
When you see like your first 50 or 100K, that you have to go to the ATM and withdraw to make sure it's real money. I did that.
The first point well, it was a point when I started working for Chase Bank.
Okay.
That's when I was like,
You want to Chase as well? We are in Nairobi, boy.
Okay, so I'll take it slow. Okay, so Big Kev trend.
after Big Kev, the
Chase Bank?
Runda babe put me on. She was like, oh, Chase Bank is hiring, whatever. Try. So at that point,
studied for that actually.
yeah.
Okay.
So I started working at Chase Bank. So that's the point when at least it was a formal job. I wore a suit every day. Every 24th of the month. Any
How
days,
many
no
suits did you have?
3, 4.
3, 4.
Okay.
And you'd wear them every day.
Yani every day. Dry cleaners, yani. The rotation was challenging, man. It was crazy. It was
It's like
crazy.
a full suit and tie,
Full
everything.
suit,
Proper 8
same
to 5.
thread. You can't wear black and blue,
CG.
nothing. It
Oh.
has to be same.
solid colour.
Same.
What job is this?
So my first, it was an entry-level job. It was customer service representative. So
Okay.
Yeah.
the first one was, I think, I worked at a call center. Then I worked in treasury. So call center was, you know when you call KCB, when you call your bank, the guy that picks up.
Yeah.
At some point, I was that guy.
Nice.
So I used to work night shift and I used to work day shift. The guys that would call me in the Dunda, my guy, I'm with the babe here, my card has declined.
Wow.
So me, I'm just like, okay. So my job was to manage
Yeah.
it. Is to manage it. Do you have alternative sources of funds? Then it got to a point even, there was some customers that were so stranded, you'd facilitate, and then in the morning, the department will figure out a way to reimburse you because the guy has quamad, you know?
When you say facilitate, you mean you send the money?
Yeah, because some
Your
guys
own.
would just be like, listen, at this point, there's nothing I can do. I have money in my card. You can see he has money in his card, but the transaction won't go through.
Okay.
So just small challenges like that. So that's where I learned customer service, a bit of empathy, and just having conversations with different people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get to see their balances?
I'm mad.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is that, so these are in secrets about working in a bank. You could see the picture, you could see their balances and everything like that.
You could find them.
So most of the times you just be like, okay, you're calling, you're checking, okay. And you could see their transactions. So you've talked at Mojos, you've gone to...
So,
you can see the trail, you know?
So you know where this nigga is.
Yeah.
This
What is the
nigga-
most you ever saw in someone's balance? You're like, what?
The most I ever saw was loans. You know, someone would take a facility and then it would be a huge amount and then it would come in. Maybe for a car, maybe a mortgage, something like that. That was the most money I ever saw. There's some accounts you couldn't see, for sure. But that's the most I ever saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
You're a nice person.
But you can't do anything though.
No, you can't.
There are
you
people
can't,
who can track you
can't.
down,
No.
become your friends.
Oh yeah, be friends.
Yeah,
Just
befriend
figure
you.
out a
Just-
way,
You think
you
that
know?
you've met someone at the counter, kumbe they knew you were there.
They knew you. Oh yeah,
And
actually.
they're like, this is the nigga with 17 mic.
Where is the interest? Where does the interest for nightlife begin?
The interest for nightlife starts at True Black.
Oh.
Because there was the night activations,
the
the
whatnot.
booze, seeing everything.
The
and
women
oof.
activating.
The women have always been a byproduct.
Hey,
Because you're there. No, not like that. Because you're there, you're focused, but it's an industry where I think women would be there.
Truly.
They like to have fun, they like to enjoy themselves. So you interact with a lot of them. But it takes a lot of discipline to also keep a level head,
that's
you know? It takes a lot of discipline to keep a level head. So I'd say True Black and then Jameson.
Now Jameson
Especially
is...
Joe.
So when I started working... No. I skipped a part. Chase Bank had Mad Babes. Ask anyone. Ask anyone. Like, and that's why that bank grew so fast. Those guys were just coming, the babes. You're just like,
I want to cash here.
transfer everything from equity to now. You know,
I
so
thought it was
Why
because
did
of
they
the
go under,
marketing.
man, I mean, it was a lot of things. That I don't want to get into, but it was just a lot of things about personal interest versus business interest. Ultimately, I
the
think
top.
there's active court cases now, so that's why I don't want to get into it. But I think ultimately, the way I can summarize it: personal interest versus business interest.
Okay.
Okay. I had an account with Chase Bank, and when everyone was worried when they went under receivership, I was not worried because I didn't have a lot of money. In there. Guys were like, "Oh my god, I can't access my money." I'm like, "Me too." I'm gonna 1305.
Oh man.
My goodness.
At the time, I'm just trying to paint a picture. At the time, what is the club scene in Nairobi like? Which are the
places
spots that were really popping?
Yeah.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
my first ever night out. I was 18, and I just cleared high school, and my boys took me to. There's a club called, not the current one. There's a club then on Moy Avenue. No, is it Moy Avenue? Kimathi Street, where Nation Building is.
Yeah,
That's
Kimati
my-
There was a
Street.
club there called Ibiza.
Oh,
Nothing like the current one,
Yeah.
but that was the first time I ever went out. And then post
This is when
that,
town was busy with
this
clubs.
was when town was busy, and getting in was a hustle.
Yeah.
getting into Tao or the club?
No, the
club.
club.
Getting into the club in Tao,
Mwass.
Westie was a mission. Westie was a whole mission.
Wait.
Changes, there was Bacchus.
Skylark.
Skylark.
What's the time for Skylark?
Hallelujah. Aqua.
Aqua Blue, I remember.
Man.
So Westie was the higher end. That was
Westie
where
was
the
the
clubbing
high end. And
was.
Westie Limited, at that time I was skinny, and then I didn't know how to dress. I didn't have enough confidence. And let me tell you, the bouncer would see me, Rudy. Because he was coming up the stairs, like, just turn back, turn back.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your good time.
No, it was tough times. It was tough
Minisha and
times.
Bando saw my chemistry. Yeah. But you look like a high schooler. And I was a high schooler, but I caught a feeling. I was like, shit. It's okay. I have 2 socks now. Okay.
So
Yeah.
those were the first clubs.
So when is Bar Next Door born? Because I remember there's a time you were looking to raise money to literally start Bar Next Door. I didn't know it was Bar Next Door, but
Yeah.
you just wanted to start a club or something.
You know, like when I look back at it, even how it...
Congratulations.
It's not
Come
easy,
on,
man.
Thank you. I think when I look back at it, it started very, very vaguely. Very vaguely. You know what I used to do? So every time I travel, I'd take pictures of different bars. And I knew one day I'd start a bar. So different decors, different aesthetics, just things that they've done very well. And even here, when I'd go out, I just started looking at things. And then at that point, I was working for all these alcohol companies. So I'd sit in meetings with bar owners. I'm like, you've sold all these Tusker lights. Okay. So now I started doing the math and everything like that. So I developed an interest in that industry, right? So when I really, really wanted to start it is at a point where I really got uncomfortable at work, you know? I was just like, okay, now I'm coming to work every morning. It's the same stuff. Nothing's
became the same
changing, you know? So I was just like, let me start a bar. And at that point, the dream was to start a cute cocktail bar that I'd have one barman and he'd just make cocktails. I don't know what. I'd be
Simple to run.
I'd be coming from Jobo. I just ask him, Hesabu ya leo, you know? So that was the initial dream. And then as any business is always constraints. So one of the constraints I had was capital, right? So I'd saved up X amount, right? But that X amount was enough to open that little cute small bar, right? And then at that point, there's a friend of mine, it's called Grace, a very good friend of mine. I just ask her, I want to open a bar. So I take her, I ask a lot of people. So there's Grace, there's guys in my investment group where Cachero is, there's BN, we have an
Shout out to
investment
Ernest.
group, yeah. So I tell them I want to open a bar. So my investment group has someone who's of a different religion, so he can't get into the liquor business. So we're like, okay, sour. So that doesn't go through. So I tell Grace. So we go to the first location, we look at it. It can work, but she's like, it can work, but there's this other location I've been told about, let's go see it. So that's where the current bar next door, Kileleshwa, is, right? So we enter, we look at the building, we're like, okay, this is going to take some work.
Who used to be there before? Like
A house.
A house.
It was a house.
Because initially, it actually was just a house.
It was a house.
Okay.
And then they changed it to a commercial space and everything like that. And then I was like, okay, we can make it work.
Yeah.
So on the day that we got there, I signed a lease.
Same day you saw the location.
Same day, I signed a lease. The rent, I just looked at it, I was like, oh my fucking God. But I was like, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Bro, you
Good.
can
Good.
do whatever you want to do, bro. You can do flip-flops.
But that
Flip-flops.
Flip-flops.
Flip-flops, the sleepers.
backflips.
Yes.
Backflips.
I meant backflips.
Backflips.
I swear. You ever spoil.
You slip.
Sorry.
So that was the scary bit, but we signed the lease. So the
So
thing
at this point, it's still the money that you had saved.
The
No
money
one
that
has.
I'd
No one
saved.
has.
the money
Come
that I
on,
saved.
yeah.
Yeah, no one is coming in at that
And
point.
at this point, is the business, how far from dream to business are you at? Do you have a name? Do you have a logo? Have you registered?
So name, no, I won't lie to you. We hadn't registered. There's no logo. There's nothing. But at that
It's just
point,
you and Grace now. So Grace
Yeah.
has believed in the dream.
yes.
So it's just you and
Yeah.
Grace moving around.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So she believes in the dream. We signed the lease. So now it's a point of, okay, now we need to register the company. We need to build this thing. So we started building. I knew the name would come at some point. But at this point, and this is what I believe in, everything coming at the right time.
Okay.
All through, I'd get home in the evening from Jobo. I'd study branding. I'd look at how different brands work, from Starbucks to Nike to Adidas, all these things, how to expand a brand, all those things. So all this knowledge that I'd built up to that particular point came in handy when I was starting Bar Next Door. So the name, I was just like, okay, we got to come up with a catchy name that is scalable.
Yeah.
So when I pitched it, I just said Bar Next Door. And everyone in the room was just like, that's
It's
it.
the one.
That's what we're going with.
How many people are in the room now?
So at that point, it's myself, Grace, there's a contractor, there's two other guys. So guys are just like, let's go with that.
Yeah.
But these two other guys are also guys that want to invest in the business, but they're still like, you know, when you're kati aligning.
You're sitting on the fence, like,
Yeah.
should I not?
So we proceed and register the company. So we're building. At some point, capital runs out. Right? This is my money. This is Grace's money. And then I think one of our friends also brought in some money, but money runs out, right? So I remember there's this other guy that used to own a bar on Thika Road, a very good friend of mine. I was in high school with him. So I called him, I was like, and I didn't even call him at this point. And this is the thing about things leading up to the universe aligning with what you want, right? Because I remember I used to manage his bars when I used to work for these alcohol companies. And I'd tell him, you look like you're doing a good job running these bars.
Yeah.
I want to start something, and there's expertise that you have that I think is going to be welcome on this other side, right? So when we got stuck, I was like, let me call him. So I called him, I'm like, there's a property I want you to look at. We've reached here and here. There's X percentage that you might buy into. He came, looked at it, he was like, sour. So there's money that's coming. So we continue building, we finish, right? But finishing is also depends on what your ultimate goal is, right?
Yeah.
So the bar is there. We don't have a generator. There's electricity. There's chairs. There's booze. There is staff, like a skeleton staff, but we're out of money. So at this point, we have to.
You have stock?
Yeah.
We have
enough?
stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first day I ever came to Bar Next Door, we had a blackout.
Yeah. There was no electricity.
Crazy.
And that's the truth, you know? And that's the thing about even starting small and scaling up. Because at that particular point, I remember, some of the challenges we had, even stock, it came from relationships that I had built, right?
From the
So
suppliers. who you'd work
So
with,
I'd work with them. I told them, I'm starting this thing. I just need stock. I'll pay you back in a month. You know? And at this point, you're taking a risk, you know? You've taken so much booze because ultimately you're hoping you will sell it, you know? But you've worked out the numbers and everything, the brand, hoping it's going to work. And thank God it did work, you know? Because we'd be having a different conversation right now. So that was it. I think I even called you. I was like, I need some support or something like that. So I called a lot of people. That was from stocking, right? Generator, at that point, you're looking at generator, they're telling you X amount. You're like, where's this money going to come from? You know? So we just made a decision. We're like, we're going to start. Electricity would go. Guys would still chill and drink. So
It's true.
the first
So
money
you
that we
stayed.
got.
We stayed, and some of the guys was with actually started
Singing in
Twitter,
the-
Nini. You know who the guys are. Yeah.
So at
Ibata.
Ibata ina stima.
Ibata na stima.
Sisi ndo tunawaka. I want to ask, at this point, how many months are you in?
Still month 1.
Month 1?
Still month 1.
No, I'm from the day of signing the lease up until this point.
Oh,
That's
yes.
like 3 months in.
Okay.
So all this happens
And
in
you're
3
paying
months.
rent every month?
So at least we had in commercial leases they'll give you a grace period.
Okay.
To be like, okay, you can Jenga within 3 months and everything. So that was a blessing, you know. But a lot of people try to fast track the building. So at least you can have 1 month free to try to recoup.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how.
Okay.
Got you. If you have the money up front.
Yes.
Just
if you
do
have
the
money
whole,
up
the whole
front.
thing.
Correct.
Okay. But then this is also just before COVID, no?
This is at the heart of COVID because
This
a
is
lot
actually-
of things happened. I
Yes.
lost my job at that point. It was at the heart of COVID.
You didn't resign?
Yo, if I tell you that story, it's a whole other. Whew. So
You can tell us the
So-
short version.
I didn't resign. I started a bar, but at that point, the bar was supposed to be a side hustle. There was no plan of me resigning, leaving my job or anything like that. It was my safety net. Bro, at that point, I was working for EABL.
Truly.
I was a senior manager at EABL.
Yeah.
At that point, they have so many perks. You have a medical card, you have a company card, you have fuel. Before you think about leaving, you're a mad person, you know?
Yeah.
So that was always my safety net. I was like, okay, I'm still going to remain at EABL, right?
But do my thing
But
on the
I'm going to do
side.
my thing on my at the side. But the world has a very unique way of aligning things. Because me losing my job, I realized I have no fallback, you know?
So
There's
now-
there's nothing to fall back on. There's nothing I can say, oh, if this thing doesn't work, I can go back to my
Yeah.
8 to 5 or whatever.
All gas now.
Yeah, so at this point, that's why even up to today, I'm always like all gas, no brakes. Because at this point, there's no fallback. It's just now we push, we
keep
push, we move. So that's one of the things I could say really, really was an extra motivation for me.
But you're so positive, it's crazy.
She's always negative, so she's
No, the way he's like, you know, the world has a unique way. I'm like, dude, that's a fucked up way of
fucked up way of living.
moving.
Oh.
When you talk about the world.
Oh yeah, universal lining.
Dude, you're too positive. I love it. Love
So
it.
then COVID comes in, still a new bar, right? Then what? All bars have to shut, like literally shut down operations.
Yeah.
Then what happens to you guys? Do you still have to pay rent? Or like what's going on during COVID?
So at that point during COVID, so COVID is an example. I look at it in business as external challenges. I don't want to get so much into economics, but macroeconomic factors or something extra, just things that are out of your control that affect the business. So COVID was one of them. So at the heart of COVID, one thing is companies need to reinvent themselves, or COVID brought about new trends and consumer behaviors, and how do you tap into that? So for us, the beauty is that with COVID, consumers didn't want to be in a cooped up nightclub and everything because of the whole thing of air and everything. So Bar Next Door worked, because at that point, you remember there was that whole outside area.
Yeah.
And at that point, Bar Next Door was thriving, Solo Grano was thriving, which other bar? CHEQUE was
I think
thriving.
like 1824.
1824 was
was,
thriving. All
open air
these bars that
spaces.
were open air worked. All these ones that were cooped up inside sort of suffered to an extent. But all these
Except
open
the
air
ones
ones,
who were operating illegally. The two guys.
you remember at that point even, I remember Styles from Milan started a property called DNM.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember,
in,
The
Apart-
DNM park
Garden
event.
Estate.
DNM Park.
Estate.
Open air.
But what does that tell you? Because people are not comfortable inside. So I'm
Take
going
it
to have a
outside.
garden event and then people will be comfortable there. So that's the whole thing about changing with the times, changing with the trends, etc. And that's how you remain relevant.
True.
Then, so with because I'm just looking at Nairobi, there's almost a new bar opening up every day. Like there's always just a new spot, right? What do you think still makes you guys successful, popular? Like what keeps Bar Next Door going?
I think the one thing that makes us stand out is, I think, listening to customers. That comes from a lot of different channels. The good thing about this day and age is a lot of channels, so social media and everything like that. So something as small as someone telling you, I think you guys need to introduce this new product, for example. That's listening. So as a business owner, you make a decision. Do I introduce it? Do I not? I think you guys need to introduce, for example, reggae on Tuesdays. As a business owner, that's feedback. You're like, Should I introduce it? Should I not? So it's constantly listening to what the people want, what the market wants, and what the trends are in the market. And keeping an open mind in terms of someone might come at you with an opportunity. It's always listening. And I think I spoke about something for the honeys, right? How that came about was, so me, CNG, and Dream were always going to the same gym, and they're friends of like us, like literally friends. And me and CNG were neighbors at some point. So I remember even at some point he called me. He's like, "I want to teach you how to mix." That's it. I was like, "This is not for me." So at that point he was like, "In the global market scene, there's R&B, and it's really kicking, right? I think we can introduce a property on a Wednesday and everything like that." So he was like, "Something for the honeys." Dream was on board. We were on board and everything like that. So I go back, because at that point we're looking at the cost for sustaining this property was quite significant. So I go back to some brand partners. I'm like, "Listen, we have this property. We're going to launch into the market. Are you willing to support?" And they're like, "Oh, it's an opportunity to interact with the female clientele, female audience and everything like that." And they became partners. So a short answer to that is constantly innovating, listening to the market, and creating something different every single time.
So, if, like, for instance, now when CNG and Dream, when they come to you with the idea for something for the honeys, right?
Yeah.
So in this instance, are they getting a percentage of the sales? Are they on a salary? Like, how does the financials work for that?
So we have reviews, right? So we agree for this half year, for this full year. This is what we're looking at, right? And this is the target we're going to get to. What amount are you guys comfortable with? They say X amount, right? And if it does well, we'll be like, "Listen, I think it's doing well." And they'll also come, they can also see it, right? If it's not doing well, we can also say, "Okay, we need to rejig it, rethink it," and everything like that. That's why you see from when it started where it was just CNG and Dream, and then it's gotten to a point where there was a bit of a female DJ, and the hottest female DJ now is Ite, right?
Yes.
We're like, let's bring in Ite. So it's CNG, Ite, and Dream. You know? And that also comes from a point of listening, right? And having conversations with these people, because they are the soul and the heart of that day, you know? And that goes all across. I have the amount of times I would call even someone like G-Money, ask him, "There's this DJ and this DJ, what do you think about them?" The other day we're looking for resident DJs. I called G-Money, I called Nick D. I was like, "Send me your top 5 that you think can get a residency," right? So we hired DJ Girlfriend. There's a guy called Blanks, and these guys are really, really doing well, you know?
So M didn't come up in that.
Sir M is really, really good. And Sir M's really played a lot, but it's one of those things we're looking at residency. You know?
Gotcha.
So Sir M would be here and this day and this other day. But even for me with my residents, I'll be very open. I'll be like, "Listen, you guys are residents, but if you get a gig somewhere else, go do your thing, you know? Because it's ultimately about growth. It's not going to take away from what you have, you know? A lot of bar owners I've seen, they're like, "Listen, you're only going to play at my bar. You're not going to play somewhere else, you know?" And ultimately, it doesn't work like that, because this person wants to grow as well. Yeah.
Question: This something for the honey is the name?
Yeah.
'Cause it's really on the nose. It's just like Bar Next Door.
Yeah.
Is it something that also just came up like that? We need to do something for the honeys, and then
What year were you born?
This is like the 10th guest I've someone.
94.
94.
What?
When were you born?
90.
That's for
Should we
you.
be saying that on air? You know, yesterday I was out and then I met this guy and he's like 40. So he was like, "Oh, Antony, I think me and you are age mates." I look at him, I'm like, "Okay, when you were born?" I was like, So I think that's the thing. I think for me, I matured mentally very fast. And it's just those things where, because some of my hobbies are not like hobbies of a normal 32-year-old, you know?
What are your hobbies?
Man, some weird stuff, man. I like getting home, watching documentaries, watching like YouTube videos about things that I don't know, reading books.
Masturbation.
I can evidently say no.
You know, we were literally discussing earlier, because you're telling Mwass and I were just telling Mariah, we don't masturbate. I don't know. You probably
anymore,
do.
I get-
You have clear. I was told if I I need clearer skin. I should start masturbating. And then I was like, okay, so
told you?
Oh
picture
my
me. So
God.
I get home this evening, freshen up or whatever, take my clothes off, get lube,
Who said you have to take
put
your
some
clothes
nice
off?
music,
Music.
and then start jacking off.
No, who said you have to take your clothes
Light a
off?
candle.
Oh, so with my pants sagged.
I really don't want to picture this. Let's go back to the business.
Oh my God.
You're being really vivid, and I
Oh
have
my
a vivid
God.
imagination.
Oh
So
my
I just see
God.
the dreadlocks going like this. Oh my
I
God.
just needed you guys to
Teach
laugh.
Chaxy how to watch things. Chaxy
Truly.
watches nothing. I'm like, have you watched Oppenheimer? Have you watched the new TV?
Nothing.
Nothing.
But he always wants recommendations.
Yeah, and he'll take it down on his
I
phone.
never want
and
recommendations. You guys keep
Oppenheimer.
recommending.
No, you
Try
keep
watch it.
saying, tell me what to watch. We tell you, you never watch it.
Yeah.
I tried
And
Single Kiasi. Do you want to go back to that?
Every time we're at his house, we have to watch YouTube. That's the only thing he plays.
No, that's a lie. I never switch on my TV. You guys use the TV more than I
Yeah,
use it.
and it's on YouTube. And what is it you like watching? Wilding Out.
Well, out.
All day, every day, it's just wilding out. I'm like, nigga. Try this new comedy. He's like, who is this comedian? I'm like, just go watch him.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like,
I
Sam,
will.
The next time I
The
see
minute you
you.
leave, it's done.
Then I'm like, did you watch it? Nah. I watched Wilding Out. I'm like,
Anyway, back to Owich. I have a few questions about running a bar, right?
Yeah.
One, how do you deal or control theft?
yeah.
Because, bruh, the number of times I've bought stuff in the bar, and then the waiter or the barman will be like,
Chill, Haifangi.
send to this, send to this.
Send half.
And I at some point, like sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'll pay to the till, then I'll tip you.
Yeah.
Like I would not come to BNT because I know you buy alcohol and pay to a private number.
Yeah.
I'd rather tip you. But then there's a lot of people who would do that because you'd pay less money.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a challenge. Not just in the bar industry, but any industry. And that's why you see, like, even when you walk to a supermarket, there's certain controls. To a password. You see, those are controls that a business puts in place. So for us, for example, it's a lot of bars that you go to now, they'll tell you cashless. They'll tell you if it's cash, there's only X amount of people that are picking cash. But even with these measures that you put in place, there's still ways. So as a business, we go an extra mile. So we'll have random people, I'll call them mystery shoppers, right? That would just come in, sit, have a normal day. When you ask for the bill, and then they trigger you onto paying cash. There's actually a number, something like that. So it's mystery shopping. So at that point, you see whether your staff are honest and truthful. But a bulk of the stuff that we have, very straight, very honest. I mean, in any organization, there's always that one or two person that will always find a way and things like that. But those are some of the controls we put in place, and these controls never end, you know? So it's constantly just putting more
getting
control.
smarter with
No,
ways of doing
100%.
it.
And it's in any industry. Any industry. Whether it's banking. The other day I saw, which company was it? On Business Daily. I think Jumia. There's a guy who used to sell, I think, what? Was it 15 million shillings or what? Something like that they
he had
found
his
out
own stores
over.
on Jumia.
Yeah, they found out over, I think, a year or something like that. I can't remember it, but it was something fraudulent. So it's things like that. So I can say it's in any industry, but it's now the audits you have in place, the checks you have in place to try at least control and mitigate that risk. You know?
How come you guys didn't get into the whole hosting thing? I don't remember seeing a fly babe
at
on a
PND.
flyer saying
We are hosting
Sunday.
I don't know. Like,
But how
for
do you
me,
feel about it actually? Is that for you?
it works. I mean, the hosting thing works, but you know, it also depends with the nature of the. I feel like the hosting thing works for a nightclub. You know, I feel like
You don't consider Next Door a nightclub?
it's not a nightclub. It's like a community bar.
Yeah.
It's
the bar
a
next
community
door.
high energy bar,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
The music's not too loud. It's very chill. You can have a conversation, but you can dance at the same time. There's not a lot of like lights that are flickering in your eye and things like that. It doesn't get packed late. You know that a nightclub gets packed at like 11. It would go until 6 a.m., you know? So it has a lot of flashing lights. The music is loud. You're not there to have conversations. So I'd say mine's a community high energy bar, you know? You can leave your house, you can go bar next door, and then you can have a conversation. You can dance at the same time, you know?
As long as you're not in sandals.
Oh! We have to tell you this story. So,
Here we go.
so this is COVID, right?
Yeah.
And we'd have crazy benders at my place. So, because I mean, it was a thing.
Yeah.
And this time I live in Kiambu. So we've had like a bender. We've had like a bender for I don't know how many days.
Yeah.
And then we decide, literally, we're going to buy next door from Kiambu to Kileleshwa. So me, I live in my sandals.
As per usual.
Boom, get to BND,
Yeah.
can't get in. Shit.
And they're very adamant about it. By the way.
Yeah, they're like, no, you can't get in. So, first thing, we were like, okay, so we go to Quick Mart. We were so determined. We were like, we have to party at BND. So we were like, oh, we go to Quick Mart and
Buy
find whatever they
gumboots.
have.
Yeah. Buy gumboots.
No, gumboots came in when we got Quick Mart. So when we got Quick Mart, but they had such ugly shoes. The only shoes they had that I could buy were gumboots. But I'm like, damn. I can't picture myself in gumboots. So we're thinking about what to do. And then Keegan, one of my friends, says, actually, do you know the guards who you find in buildings, normally they don't come in uniform.
Yeah.
So that means if you
came
could
with
speak to
another
the
pair of
guards, they could
shoes.
loan us their shoes.
No way.
Go in.
Yeah.
I swear for you to
Bro.
get in. So
Yeah.
so we went to the restaurant just behind BND.
Yeah.
We had shoes from that guard.
No way.
I swear. Oh my God. We had shoes from that guard. Then I got in and partied. Shout out to Tibet.
That's determination, right?
Oh,
No, but
man,
when
man.
it was Irish there, when you three get together, I think logic is always
Yeah, it leaves
was
the
out-
room
out the
automatic.
Any idea
Out
is a
the
good
window.
idea. Like, why are you going to
Out
Quick
the
Mart to
window.
buy gumboots?
No, gumboots were the only thing that I was like, this look nice. I could buy as these.
That
Because it's
loan with
gumboots.
the shoes.
Bro, then Keegan came up with that idea, which we thought was brilliant. And it worked. We had shoes to get into Bar Next Door during COVID.
Nah, bruh.
No one was like, this
Nah.
is too much.
Honestly.
No.
At no point someone
We've
was
come all the
like,
way
maybe
from
let's
Kiambu.
go
Too
else.
home. Yeah.
We've come all the way from Kiambu. We're not going to go back.
No, I applaud the quick thinking.
Madness.
There's a day they even froze me as well. I was in socks and sandals because it was a chill afternoon and then it
Yeah.
ended up being a BND thing. They are so adamant. I think potato bouncers raise. Like they're like, how wingy. And then I'm like, it's policy. Then I try to reason with them. I'm like, I'm not even going to stand next to a shisha. What's going to happen to my feet? And then some babes in sandals are just coming in. And then it's like, oh, you are mama. I'm like, it's like, but we all have feet. He was like, how wingy. So Erosh went to his car and gave me shoes, like a size 8 and a size 9.
Yeah.
So I was just cramped up in the club like this. At some point, I chomoed them as well. Yeah, it was
So like
crazy.
keep dancing. Then also congratulations on Kiambu Road.
Oh,
So at what point does BND Kiambu Road?
is that the biggest club in the
Bro, that club
city
is
right now?
huge.
Huge. I haven't been there.
How many
but-
people sitting?
There's a friend of mine that told me it's like a concert every weekend.
Bro, it is.
It's like a concert every weekend. It's a lot of people. But also with that, before it started, we did a whole benchmarking trip
Okay.
just to be able to see what's happening globally. This industrial look that we have, how can we modernize it, make it more slick and everything like that. But at the same time, at that particular point, there was a lot of, I'd call them challenges in the market with conversations about loud music and things like that. So all of that was put into that particular BND. So one of the challenges we had at our current location at that particular point was parking. So that's the first thing we need to address, parking. The other one was soundproofing, which we've worked very closely with a lot of local government authorities to be like, okay, what's the new way forward when it comes to soundproofing and everything like that? So even the current BND could be a best case practice in terms of how soundproofing could look like and even how we can improve it. Constantly, I'm having conversations with sound engineers, Homeboys Radio. I mean, John Rabah is constantly on like speed dial. John, what do you think? What do you think I can do this? I need to reduce the echo. And it's not something you're gonna get immediately at a go. It's an ongoing process because it's also expensive. But that particular BND came from a point of all the challenges, and we wanted to create something that's different and something that the Kenyan consumer would really appreciate. Yeah.
So what's different between BND Kiambu Road and...
I think first the space, it's huge.
It's massive.
right?
Away.
sound.
Has
I
a
think
dance
there's
floor.
more speakers. It has a dance floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a garden area. It has way more parking.
You've never been?
I've
And
never been.
No
Wow.
way.
Jackson
Like-
Hamaraka.
We'll check it.
I'm moving to
When I
Kiambu
literally
Road.
just moved when you opened. I was like,
Yeah.
shit, now this was gonna be my actual bar next door. Then I just
You
moved.
could have gone home
But
and
now the
changed
new
from
bar next door
sandals.
is now my. But sometimes this is still
It's a
my
mission.
bar next door now.
Yeah.
Is the new one still a no sandals policy?
The policy is cuts across.
Across. What's up with the sandals, man?
This guy just said sandals, so personal decision.
Do you wear sandals?
If a glass,
Do they let you
I
come in
wear
with sandals?
sandals in the house.
But like babes wear
You know-
open toe things.
And I remember even when we were putting that policy, there's a lot of bars that have that policy.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember I was talking to Luta. Luta's one of the guys at 18, right? And he has it as well. And I remember they were really
true.
pushing it.
Yeah,
They were really pushing it.
But they don't enforce it at 18.
Dude,
No, 'cause-
they
for
do.
real.
Dude,
No, they
check
do.
it
I
out.
won't even
Yeah,
lie.
'cause I had sandals.
Yeah.
And I'm
Even
like, dude,
babes.
I'm like, it's 5 p.m.
You know?
There's no one. Madam
But
Ngiigi.
it's a perception thing because let's say you've really thought about how you're going to dress. You look nice, everything. You've come with your babe. You've come on a date. And then there's a guy.
In flip flops.
In Umojas. The red Umojas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if the guy is coming to buy the most expensive bottle?
I mean, there's cases like that which we get. Oh, I
Are
can
you
buy
stopping
this and that.
Babuino from wearing sandals?
Hey, bro,
You're like, do we
shoot
lose the
everyone.
policy or lose 200K?
There's really
you
a
shoot everyone.
thing where Nigerians get special treatment compared to Kenyans. A Nigerian man will come in with sandals and shorts, will go in. You're in shorts, you're in sandals, you can't come in. What's the deal?
So at some point, even we had that challenge, right? But it's, because the person that's there at the gate is a human being, right? And there's also that perception, even when we have conversations as boys, kuna venye, let's be honest, kuna venye wa Nigeria wametushinda nguvu kidogo tu. Like even when you go out,
so many
Nigerians,
ways.
it's in their nature. They're very loud. Like not in a bad way. They're very loud. They're very vocal. They love them. They love themselves. They love their community, and they're unapologetic. A Nigerian would be in the club on top of the chair, dancing and everything like that. Again, and you'll have a good time, but we have a very different way of having a good time. We're very reserved as people, right? So Nigerians would also come there and they'd build a rapport with the bouncers and everything like that. Oh, my brother, and then at the end of the day, there's always maybe something that will.
True.
Yeah. So,
I love how you've just gone around.
Yeah.
but it's something that even for us, no matter the community, the policy cuts across. It cuts across.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sandals, okay. Gotcha. What if they're really fly sandals? What if they work with the outfit? Let me ask, what if they work with the outfits?
Well, there's some that even now we just like we categorize them as sandals. Like those ones where it's like half shoe, half sandal.
Yes.
Chaxy
You're
has
like,
those.
okay, so those
I don't get them.
It
They're
gets
like
to a point
convertibles. I saw them
convertible
at
shoes.
platform and I'm like, who wears this? Then I go to Chaxy's, I'm like, you bought
Collection.
in 3 different colors.
No, that's a lie. It's just one color.
That one would full B&D
But those
bouncers,
are
yeah.
trending now. Those
Yeah.
are trending. So
I feel like we should wear them and go. So that when they're
I'll see
searching
to
you, they're
see.
like, here's shoes. And then when you pass them, they're like, ah!
Also, those can get you in as well.
see, it's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
You'll come at him straight up, so he'll see you have shoes. When you pass now, he'll see the
With this
come back,
strap.
come back, come back, come back.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
That's a funny question. I've just remembered now. When you said you have mystery shoppers who come and bust someone, what happens when the waiter, waitress is double dealing? Do you fire them on the spot or do you wait in the morning?
I mean, there's procedures, right? So they have clear policies and repercussions to those policies, right? So in case you're caught stealing, these are the repercussions. In case you're rude to a customer, these are the repercussions. In case there's a short at the bar for barmen, these are the repercussions. So there's stated repercussions and they know the repercussions to these actions. So we're very clear about those.
Okay. Can I give a waitress a shot?
So on the job, no. Let me just say on the job, no. That's the policy.
They usually take
On
it
the
and
job.
drink. That's fine.
So I think just before, back to something that we spoke about earlier and I forgot to ask, programming, right?
Yeah.
Because you said part of what goes into programming is just looking into what people like, right?
Yeah.
But then would you look at what people like, but also look at what would make you stand out? Or would it just be whatever works everywhere?
No, I think it's not what works everywhere. It's so as a brand, you have your DNA, you have your pillars, right?
Gotcha.
So community, music, live music. Let's say, for example, good cocktails, great DJs, as an example, right? So these are your DNAs. So this, no matter what, these are your DNAs for your brand, right? And then post that, there are those that, so these will remain no matter what, right? And then now there's the trends that keep changing and everything that you program your lineup, your look and feel in line with them, right? Let me give you a good example. I think the Barbie movie launched on Friday.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of countries having the launch, but a lot of brands also jumping on them. I see Nike did a collab with Barbie the other day. So that's just something that where you still have the brand elements of Nike, which is the swoosh, just do it, but now in collaboration with Barbie. So you have a pink swoosh, something like that. So you still have the DNA of what you are and what the brand is, but you're collaborating with other people. Good example, you guys have one of the leading podcasts in the market
Yes,
right now.
sir.
We eat for the people in the back.
Right? But having hosts that
We're
you've
the
had,
DNDs of podcasting.
Buzz.
there you go.
Blueprint, baby.
But having guests that are able to speak and have convivial conversations, have banter and everything like with you guys, that's collaboration as well, you know?
And we love that because you say when we have guests, the questions we're going to ask you are never going to be asked anywhere else.
Facts.
Like I think for Benso, we didn't even ask him about his music. Maybe 5%.
Five
just
hata ni kubwa.
Yeah,
It
because
was
we want
like
whoever is
one.
watching to feel like they're hanging out with someone
What
who
would you
they
ask
see
him?
on a screen or
Yeah.
like they see somewhere else.
What questions did you ask Ben?
None.
Hey, did you have sex in Uganda? You're back from Uganda for blankets. He's like, yeah, the performance
to
was
your
like, fuck the
album.
performance. And then he was like, yeah, I actually did have sex in Uganda. The Kiambu Road branch,
That's your bar next door, actually.
that's actually my bad because I'm moving to
Yeah.
Kiambu Road.
Yeah.
I'll come in full shoes and everything.
No sandals.
What was gonna be my question? How?
It's fine.
Yeah, I'll remember it. Yeah.
As you figure it out. So, the position that you sit in, right?
Yeah.
As BND, what kind of people does that attract? Because I know there's a lot of political. I mean, where people feel there's money involved, there's a lot of interest.
True.
Including people you approached for money who didn't give you money.
Yeah. I mean, with any business, there's always going to be stakeholders, right? And stakeholders range from your staff, the partnership that you guys have, the people that make the business what it is. That is your DJs, your technicians, etc., your suppliers. These now are your stakeholders, right? Other stakeholders include, let's say, the government and etc., who control an industry, right? So all these guys are stakeholders, and stakeholders have a say, right? And even in school, I remember one of the things that I learned was a government law or regulation could be a shift in how a business works or doesn't work, right? So all these people do become stakeholders in your day-to-day running.
Wash, guys.
You know, like, sometimes I even told
Someone has
people,
popped in mind.
I'm even like, who's a wash person? I don't know who a wash person
really?
is. Yeah.
So wash people would be people who have money that is not okay, let me say legal money.
Yeah.
It could be money from government, could be money from proceeds. It's people who need to clean money,
make their money
so that they
legit.
can make it legit.
Yeah.
Most of it here would be from drugs and from government.
Yeah.
That's why government people just have cash, bro. Always cash.
Always.
True.
Everything they buy houses in cash, buy cars in cash. Everything is in cash because it's money you can't bank. You don't want a digital footprint of it unless you clean it.
Yeah. So I know one thing that all the organizations I worked for, this is from Chase Bank to Pernod, where I was working for Jameson, to EABL.
Yeah.
Once you start working, right?
Yeah.
There's a training. So it's called money laundering, right?
Yes.
So there's an anti-money laundering course that you take and you undertake, right? How to spot it, how to avoid it, how to steer away from it. And these are some of the DNAs that are brought in as Antony Owich to the business. Because when you've worked for one of the biggest organizations that's taken you to this course that is against these things.
Yeah.
And I like to call it money laundering, anti-money
I mean, it
laundering.
is what it is.
it is.
Yeah. So you hold it with the weight it deserves, and you're very keen and very particular to spot maybe cases where it would arise and minimize it. You know, because within our business, I think it's one of those things where it's zero tolerance on it. You know, and that's one thing you push with every team on ground and everything like that. And with every other business now, I think the government's been very strict, you know, with audited accounts and things like that. And that's been a blessing that at least our industry is being able to see.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you spot it in other places? Like every other day we'll see someone with a flashy bill on Instagram.
Yeah. Are those
stuff like
normally
that.
real?
Yeah.
I don't know why
Are they
people
gimmicks
do that. No,
among-
I think the way I look at it, it's a marketing tactic. That's how I look at it.
The club.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
okay,
marketing
yeah.
tactic. But I have seen people
Actually
use significant
yeah.
amount. But I think in most cases, it's a marketing tactic. You know, the other thing is, so I've worked in different stages of brands, right? So where I remember when I used to push beer, Tuborg and Carlsberg.
Yeah.
You look at the target market that you're targeting to buy this beer. You've profiled them in terms of they have potentially X amount disposable income. Maybe they're in school. It's like customer segmenting, right? They make this amount so that you can target them better in the marketing and everything, right? That's your beer guy. You moved away from that. The guy that can buy a bottle of Jameson probably is not at entry level job. Probably maybe entry level, but he's
On a
earning
pay-
quite
on
a
a higher
bit
pay,
higher.
yeah.
You know, so you know how to market that person. Fast forward to the guy that can buy a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
Right?
An EXO.
Yeah, an EXO, a bottle of champagne. This is a person that's on a different kind of pay scale, drives a different kind of car, has a different kind of job, maybe executive, director level, whatever. So at that particular point, he's become so elevated that he can spend money on the better things in life. That's the best way I'd put it. But if you're at a club and I'm this guy that I'm still gonna drink a beer, right? And I look at that guy, maybe he's closed 2 deals today. And he's come, he wants to pop 3 bottles of champagne because they're celebrating.
Yeah.
From my perspective, and everything is also a matter of perception and perspective, right? The way I look at them is these guys are maybe doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So nowadays, even when I go out, I don't judge people.
Yeah.
I let people have their own experiences and everything. Because I'm not at that table. I don't know
what's going
what they're
down.
doing, you know?
Yeah.
It could be they're celebrating a wedding. This could be celebrating an engagement. Aurora, sure. Someone's pregnant and the baby daddy.
The baby daddy.
The baby daddy. The baby daddy is out there celebrating.
Yeah.
So it's an element of people have different reasons why they go to bars and do certain things at the extent. Yeah.
With that being said,
Or maybe you can just afford it.
Yeah.
There
Why
you
not?
go. You can.
yeah. Or maybe you're just bad with money.
No, 100%. There's that as well. There's that as well.
You have 200K in your account and then you have a 160K bill.
Just like damn.
What's the biggest you've seen? What's the biggest bill you've seen? You'll be like, hey, who's this?
Yeah.
The biggest bill I've seen is a bill I did not see. Where I traveled, and this is the beauty about it. So, working for all these multinationals, I was privileged to interact with different people in different countries. So, you build a lot of networks. So, there's people you know and everything like that. So, when I traveled in one of my benchmarking trips in London, there's a friend of mine, and he was like, oh, man, we haven't seen each other for such a long time. And I want us to go celebrate, you know? Like, we had a really good time. I could tell, like, you know, there's that thing of, you know, this drink is coming, it's potentially X amount.
Yeah.
So there are certain people that you meet who are very hospitable, know how to be good hosts. And I remember we fought for the bill and everything like that before. But this particular night, I think he was like, this guy, we're going to fight for this bill. He's like, no. Bill didn't even get to the table.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how much it was, but I know I really had a good time. You know?
That's all
He looked
that matters.
expensive.
I know I had a really good time. You know?
If I had 100 million Kenyan shillings, would I open a B&D Kiambu Road?
It depends. It depends. It depends on a lot of things. How you've structured the company. Have you taken financing? Is this money that's come from a different business? Do you have a venture capitalist? Do you have an angel investor?
Or maybe wash, guys. I'm just saying.
That's
I'll
also-
probably take it.
so those are the different I think avenues.
Dynamics.
Yeah, those are the different avenues. You know, are you still paying the suppliers that you're using now? Is a lot of the things that have gone into it out of goodwill? You know, so there's a lot of business dynamics that a lot of people don't understand. But yeah, I think that's what I'd say on that.
Because also the business is very dependent on cash flow, right? It's
It's a cash intensive business.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing, you know, when you've had books with certain suppliers, it gets to a point where they're like, okay, we'll give you 30 days credit, 60 days credit, 90 days credit.
Okay.
Ask supermarkets. That's how supermarkets work, you know.
Even
You'll
hotels.
bring your products, hotels, the same thing, 90 days, 60 days, and everything like that. So it's business practice that cuts across the world. And these are business practices that we have been able to adopt as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you personally strike a balance between everything you do, personal, business?
Ah, man. It's tough. So
The honeys,
no, so, so
your other hobby.
so it's one of those things where a day at a time, you know, a day at a time. But I do have a very rigorous routine that I follow. So no matter what, there's that 5 a.m. wake up, 6:30 I'm in the office. I've gone through the dailies, the newspapers, whatever. I've gone through, these are the local dailies. I've gone through the global dailies, global
I thought
papers
you
and
went
everything
to
like
the
that.
gym first, no?
No, I go to the gym first. Okay. Oh, I forgot I walk my dog at some point there.
In the morning?
Yeah.
You wake up your dog at 5?
No, I go, so let me break it down to you.
Okay, like, hey.
So
Dogina takulala. Dogina like me.
said tembea, boss.
I don't have to pay taxes.
on a normal day, I wake up 4:30, right? At the gym,
What time do you go to bed? Sorry.
9.
Okay, gotcha.
Sheesh.
Like, if it goes too much night, I'll sleep by 10.
Okay.
Except
Yeah.
when you have to go to be in the
Work,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's the next day you can sacrifice.
True.
So that one, by 5, I'm at the gym. I'll work out maybe an hour and a half. By 6:30, I'm back. I walk the dog. After that, I go to the office. So there's that routine of and that's the thing about understanding yourself. I can never work in the house. So I have an office. So by 7:30, 8, I'm at the office. Gone through the dailies, gone through yesterday's reports, gone through yesterday's review of the night and everything like that. Make decisions on those. Go through the purchasing plan for the week or the day. Approve those. Have a conversation maybe with the respective GMs. Have a conversation with the procurement guy. Anything that's pending. From 8 to midday, that's what I'll do. All the important, hard things that you need to make decisions on.
Yeah.
From midday now, I take some meetings with people that want to meet. Okay, I have this DJ that wants to come in. I have this opportunity. We need to do an event, whatever, things like that. So I take those in the afternoon. I'll be done with my day probably by like 6 p.m.
That's a long day.
Yeah, I'll be done with my day at 6 p.m. At that time, I just maybe come home or maybe I'll go somewhere, drink tea or something like that.
Wait, so
By
by this time you kunywa chai?
No, I'm not.
Like drink tea to relax, not as a meal. Because you're having,
This whole time I'm just like,
he hasn't said finally have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
He's had breakfast. I'm assuming.
I've had
He's
meals.
had lunch.
okay,
I've had meals.
just clarify.
I've had meals. I've had meals in between. I've had meals in between. I've
Mariah was
definitely
like a
had meals.
chakula.
I'm just the guy. Okay.
Na baada tarudia kesho tu asikule.
Nalale
You
9.
remember that's a question a parent would ask. No mekula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's valid because you tell them I've been so busy and everything. It's just one question your mom would ask you.
Yeah,
No
have you
mekula.
eaten?
And
Exactly.
sometimes it's valid you didn't eat.
Yeah, true.
So you got to remember, oh, no, I didn't eat. Now I got to go eat. But I do eat.
Okay.
I do.
I have a funny question. Now, because I'm sure maybe you don't know all your stuff, or maybe they don't know you.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked into a BND and been frisked?
Oh, interestingly enough, the other day, I think there was a new bouncer. And I went to Kiambu Road and I was... So at the top, we have a policy where you can't be on the rail. And I was standing on the rail looking over. Boss, soka.
Lakini boss.
He's accurate, so.
So I look at him, I'm like...
He's actually doing his job.
I was happy. I wanted to check him, but I was like, nah, he's doing his job.
Yeah.
So I was happy because he's doing his job. So irrespective of who I am,
Yeah.
he's
the
going to
job
do
is
it,
being
whether I'm
done.
there or not.
Really.
So that was the positive thing about it. But it also made me a point of, this is a new guy. What are the procedures of a new guy coming into the
Yeah.
company, you know?
Yeah.
That was a very deja vu moment for me because I
Yeah.
remember the day you guys opened, it was supposed to be a soft launch, and then half of Nairobi we found
They
ourselves
had
there.
this launch.
I just remember at the rail being upstairs, and you were there, of course,
Yeah,
stressed out, or just
yeah.
trying to make sure everything is moving because
Yeah.
I think there was more people than you expected that day, that Saturday. But that reminded me of the scene in Power where Ghost is on the rail.
Yeah, we're looking downward.
Are those the
You know what
moments
happened
that you're
with
like,
that?
this shit
It was-
worked out?
So the soft launch was, man.
It was a hard launch.
It was a hard launch.
So that one was an element where, you know, those ones you were like, when we're setting up the business, when I tell you capital is a constraint, it's a constraint. It got to a point, listen, this construction is not going to end, man. So we had to make a call. I don't know whether you remember when you were there. There were
Yeah.
certain elements that were not finished.
Yes.
Certain lights were not finished.
Yeah.
I think the umbrellas outside weren't there. There's a lot of things that were not. It wasn't a complete product.
Yeah.
But we got to a point where, like, listen, now we need to open this thing. It needs to start generating its own income and start living its own life, you know? So we just made a hard call. We're like, listen, we're going to have a soft launch. And the soft launch was, because it proves to you, okay, what do you need to improve on? Because you have, you know, as a business person, there's these things where you can think about, you're like, customers watatembe hivi. You see?
Till they walk in and you're like,
And then they're like,
"Ooh."
so you got to change a lot of things, you know? And, you know, like, it's those small things, and it's observing and making business decisions out of people interacting with your product, right? So immediately, one thing we notice is when people walk into the main entrance, the left side gets packed more than the right side. Why is that?
Is there a reason?
It's because the DJ is there.
So naturally people go to
So
the left.
it's a lot of small things like that. So even now, we're like, one of the biggest headaches we have, where to position the DJ, you know?
Oh, you want to move?
And
the
it was,
position of the DJ?
yeah, it was one of those things, even when we're constructing, let me tell you, we thought about it. Because it was all on graphic, it was all on drawing. So we're like, you put him here, you put him here. So we made a call to put him on the left. And it shows. So that's the side that would get packed first. And then these are the sides. So with opening and letting people interact with your product, you get to change. Same thing with your podcast.
Yeah.
You talked about your estimation with the previous episode. You're like, we're going to do X amount of views.
Yeah.
4 times. You did 4 times.
Yep.
You see?
That's
the
crazy,
whole thing.
bro.
Hit us with the congratulations.
But which is just basically testing system. So now would you move the DJ downstairs?
So,
The ground floor?
so when you go there on Monday to Thursday,
Yeah.
the DJ is downstairs. Friday, Saturday, he's back up. Sunday, we want to take him outside.
Nice.
Yeah. We want to take him to the garden during the day, and then he comes back in at night. So these are some of the things and little tweaks and changes you make as the business progresses.
So if you were to have a performance at Bendi Kiambu Road, how would you set up the stage?
So initially, I thought about immediately you enter. That's empty space.
The center.
In the middle.
Okay. So that everyone can see whether you're
And then have lights mulikaing him and everything like that. So at the center, so
Like
you can
shine a
see him from
spotlight.
all sides. Yeah.
That's fine.
So that would
Have
make
you had
sense.
any? No?
Not yet. Yeah, but that's gonna be coming soon.
Can you book us? We have an EP dropping.
I'm
we
down.
are. I mean, we'll be better. I mean,
It's a matter
So
of we're
start.
DJs. Are Fridays packed more than Saturdays or vice versa?
It depends. So there's a lot of things you could find. Maybe this week, a Friday, smack on the end month.
Okay.
See, maybe a Saturday there was another event. So there's a lot of things. But Friday and Saturday in any bar are the biggest
Good days.
days. Yeah. But in any bar business, you have 4 solid. And you see, these are the other things a lot of these things I've learned over time.
Yeah.
I remember, and the people that I sit down and I look at as godfathers of the industry, you know? Good example, Luther. 8 years in the business, 9 years in the
Shout out
business.
to Luther, man.
That club has survived.
Imagine.
It has seen the opening and
There's-
closing of so many clubs.
There's Sami from K1. I met him the other day. I was just telling him, like, 30 years, that for me is ridiculous.
Shout out to
Not
Sammy,
shabby,
man.
man.
There's the owners of Kingele's Tamarind Group. That's a group that's been in existence for, I think, over 25 years. So these are the guys, a lot of guys look at me, they're like, oh, you've done this for X amount of period. I'm like, that's not the goal. The goal is to make this a sustainable business where I'm like this for 20 years, you know?
And you're everywhere.
There you go. And
There'll be-
that's what, because that's the other thing. It's very scalable. The other day I came from Kampala. The nightlife in Kampala is crazy.
It's a daily
Is there an
thing,
opportunity
right?
of having bar next door Kampala? For sure.
Yeah.
You know, having a bar next door Kigali? For sure. You know, so these
Diani, is that
Diani,
still coming?
yeah, that's something we're working on now.
Yes,
That would be
Yeah,
fire.
that's something we're definitely working on.
That would be
You
sick.
know?
We can give it. There we go. Hey, so my final question to you would be: when all is said and done,
Yeah.
what do you want to be remembered for, or how would you like to be remembered?
I think
The guy who got people drunk.
I think there's that to an extent. But think about it. And this is what I keep telling people. At the heart of COVID, I remember when bars were closed, the Bar Association and a lot of other significant players in the alcohol industry were able to lobby to the government and tell the government, listen, with bars being closed, there's been an increase of domestic violence cases, as an example, other things. And these were true things, you know? Because people go to bars for different reasons, just not to get drunk. And you see all these companies, what do they push for? The message is responsible drinking. But you know, responsible drinking is a matter of what's your responsible, what's my responsible, you know? But ultimately, it's responsible drinking because alcohol it's a substance that I think, let me not talk about alcohol, let me talk about bars. A bar is a setting where, for example, I've closed a deal. Let me go celebrate. I want to have a drink with my friends. I haven't talked to them in X amount of years. Where do we congregate? There. We want to talk about politics. Where do we go? Bars. I'm planning a baby shower. I'm having a birthday. All these moments that are within our day-to-day lives as human beings, not even as Kenyans, as human beings, are all celebrated within bars, you know? So I feel like I want to be remembered as the guy that eased people's minds. You know? The guy that
Marketer.
the guy that eased people's minds, you know? And that's the legacy I want to create, you know?
Easing people's minds and getting people drunk. But that build up.
You know? And ultimately, all of us, whatever we do, I think is to create a legacy, you know? Whether you're in a different industry or whether you're creating a clothing or a shoe brand, whether you're in music, whether you're a DJ, it's ultimately, like you said, what do you want to be remembered for, you know? You look at legends like Issa, you look at people that are doing music now, you look at fashion designers, it's all about what's the end goal, what's your legacy, you know? And for me, a lot of people would be like, oh, people start businesses to make money. I've never started a business just to make money.
Why?
It's never been to make money. It's always to either fill a gap in the market that I've identified or make a difference. In this particular case, it's to fill a gap that I identified, you know? Because at that point, there was your high-end bars, your B Club Kiza, where I had to dress up really well. A bottle was, I don't know how much. And then there was your super local. But there was there was no bar that was at your middle ground, you know? Where I can dress up, I cannot dress up, right?
Yeah, good pricing as well.
Good pricing. I don't need to break
My
bank
bank.
and everything like
To have
that.
a good time.
So that's the gap that I saw that wasn't there. And that's the gap that we came in and filled.
That's fire.
Yeah.
Final question. Who makes the wet fry at Kilelesha?
You wanna give bro, it's true. No, it's true.
You know, I'd gone to BND, let's say 20, 30 maybe times.
Yeah.
I'd never had food from there because it was always like I've eaten where I am.
Yeah.
Then you just
So
go
I
for
just
drinks.
gone. Then this one time, I think I was working late and then I just went office to BND.
Yeah.
I was like, what can I have here? They're like, try the wet fry. Bro.
That's true.
No, it's
Nowadays,
fire.
every time I
Especially
go
with the
there.
Yeah. No, it's fire.
Nah,
it's
the
fire.
plantain should not be fried. I'm not hating on BND's plantain. General plantain. That and sweet
up.
potato fries are
Shut up.
West Africans would smack you for that.
Yeah,
She's
truly.
West African. Going by your dating history.
No
That's
comment.
true.
Mwangi ni vile kuna mgeni. Like, I'll behave.
Actually, you've behaved.
No, I have a
clap
final
those.
question though.
Yeah.
When you look at the idea that you had about BND and you look at the present, how does it look for you?
Good question.
So it's on the right trajectory, but I've also had to readjust my vision. So the vision's still there, but there's minor readjustments. So let me give you a good example. Kiambu Road was never in my plan personally, right? But what did we do? We looked at the data. So we got data from all these alcohol suppliers. We're like, okay, in terms of Nairobi, the highest selling bars, where are they? Thika Road, Kiambu Road came up because of the population. It's an emerging locality in Nairobi. You know, the guys that used to live in Doni, Buru, Langata, those are the traditional neighborhoods that most of us grew up in. And then now there's the Tindigwas that are coming up, there's the Roy Sambus that have come up. And then if you go deeper into Thika Road, there's other neighborhoods, you know? So there's this new market that is exploding and it's eager to get a product they can really, really, really run with. Yeah.
Are you still going to open the tiny bar you wanted as a passion project?
In the house.
One barman, one everything.
That, it's still in the works,
Oh, nice.
but that's going to be something that I can host people.
It's going to be your thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you been to Revolver?
I have. First time this year.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Oh, really?
First time
How
I
do you
was,
find it?
and I got there, I was just like, I've
come
never
you
been here.
just-
I've never been here.
You have to own like a bar. Like
No, and I like it because it's
So intimate.
It's
It's
like
so private.
it's intimate.
the lighting, the
private.
setting is beautiful.
It's very
Mangi just
romantic,
looking at us
you
like,
know?
I've never been. Mliambia mtanipeleka na ngoja tu.
we'll take you after
I
bar
move
next door.
houses and I buy
But
my
don't go
clothes.
with sandals. You have that.
They told me I even have to dress in
Yeah,
new
you have
clothes.
to dress a bit.
I can't go like
Just
this,
look
looking like a
cute.
warehouse
Just
man.
look nice, bro.
Just look
Just
cute.
look.
I do. Even for the pod, you have to start dressing
Yeah,
nice.
okay, Meraruka. That's
This happened in the morning.
The standard going
standard.
from next week is Anto.
Okay,
This.
you'll plug
Yes.
me then in it.
Yeah. Actually, plug the guy who did this because this
I'll
is
plug you,
really
I'll
He's
nice.
a Kenyan guy.
plug you. He's a Kenyan guy.
Oh, wow.
And you know the funny story about this guy is, and this is the other thing about support can come from anywhere, right? So there's a guy that brings me clothes. So I get clothes from all guys, different people. So he was like, oh, there's this guy that gets, let me call them thrifted stuff, vintage clothes, right? So he gets me some vintage pieces. So like what I'm wearing now, so this is vintage. This I bought from Zara. And then these I got from Nike, for example, right? So this, he's a guy that is very creative. He figured out I can be getting jeans, add some extra stitching materials and everything like that, and sell it at a profit, right?
Yeah.
So I told him, so that's one way. Okay, you're making money with that, but think about creating a brand out of this, right? And I gave him an example. In the US, there's a company that's doing exactly the same thing, but they're called Capital Jeans or Capital Brands, something like that. Capital with a K. Check them out. And a pair of jeans goes for $3,000. And it's the same things. And what has he done? It's value add.
True.
You know, they just put a brand and then
Boom,
they've
it's
sold
your
you a
jeans.
story.
Yeah.
And with that story and that brand,
Yeah.
they've put a premium pricing to
Yeah.
it.
And we'll back up with a good product.
There you go. It's the jeans that we get here. See, I hear all these fashion brands get a lot of their stuff from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, they
You
do.
know?
They make
Yep.
a lot of the stuff locally. Like
Yeah.
from Kenya.
From Kenya.
Rivertex.
And that's the thing. Like for me, I want to also, and this goes back to the question you asked about a legacy. It's empowering a lot of young people because we have people that have a lot of skills. But how do you get them from level 1 to level 2, right? Where they can add value to a product, right? You have a lot of people farming, right? And they'll take that product to a processing plant, and that's the end of their process. The processing plant would add value at a premium and sell it for a premium, you know? So for me, that's also another thing I want to do. Empower and mentor a lot of young people, you know? And I think I think a parting shot is, for me, I'll never look at myself as the wealthiest person. I'll never look at myself as the most stylish person.
Yeah.
I'll never look at myself as the smartest person. I'll never look at myself as, for example, you mentioned it, as a person that has the best babes, for example. But one. There's always someone who's going to be better at those things than you. So you can learn from them. That's one thing. But for me, the unique thing and one thing that I tell myself, I want to be well balanced. So if it's someone that's educated, I'll be in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, if it's someone that's stylish, I'll be in the conversation. If it's someone that's made something out of himself, I'll be in the conversation. And that's
Someone who has
ultimately
mad babes.
so for me, that's what really, really, really pushes me. That's what really pushes me. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I think that's a nice point to end it.
Yeah, man.
How long have we been rolling? Like 2 hours? Almost? No, maybe an hour 40. Yeah. Listen, bro, this was so much fun.
Honestly.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
man.
pulling up.
Oh, you forgot
you.
to mention the guy, the name.
Oh,
It's called Mwavala.
Mwavala.
So on Instagram,
Shout out to Mwavala.
yeah, shout out to
This
Mwavala.
is really cool.
This is
Yeah.
fire.
And what I love the most, like, it's really well done. I like
You know
the
what I
stitching.
mean?
Like, it's
Yeah.
not
Even
it's
at the
not
bottom,
bad.
Raw.
it's a bit. What do you call this? Distressed. at the
Yeah,
bottom,
it's a
Yeah.
bit distressed at the
Yeah, it
bottom,
looks nice,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's fire.
But this is trends as well because now everyone stopped wearing skinny jeans,
Yeah.
except Mwass.
Yeah.
But
The jeans are big, I can promise.
like
The hips.
flared,
Chaxy's
like,
already
These are not
like
jeans.
flared pants are
Okay.
in now.
true.
So
Yeah, they're in.
that's also like tapping into trends. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. Wanted to ask, since not so many people who are in the same field as you are at that fly, and is fashion like a thing you had interest in before you ventured into the corporate side as well?
Yeah.
Or
So thank you for that question. I think for me, my style inspiration comes from my mom, first of all.
Wow.
I think growing up, I used to see my mom, and my dad used to complain, why do you have so many clothes? I don't understand. But my mom used to have so much drip, you know? She'd dress up, she'd look nice and everything like that. So for me, growing up, that's why even like when I was like getting my first job and everything, is always to buy clothes. You know? That was the
Yeah.
first thing. So for
look
me,
fly.
fashion is at the core of it.
Yeah.
Whether I was wearing a suit, I'd still rock the hottest suit, you know? Whether it's, and I'd know when to dress for a certain thing. So when I have my meetings with bankers, whatever it is, investors and things like that, I'll wear a suit, right?
Look the part.
It could be a broken suit, it could be jeans and a blazer or something like that. But when I go out, I'll be like this. When I'm having conversations with young, intelligent, well-cultured individuals like yourselves, I'll come comfortable. I won't come here in a suit because it'll just be off, you know?
Yeah.
And even when I came, you guys were
Jokali
like,
needs to
Now, I
go.
was
Like-
gonna clown you. I was like, dude, it's not an interview.
That's why. Is there a fashion trend that is really popular that you really hate?
Doll shoes.
"Don't-
No one
that's
likes
for
them.
babes.
Yeah. Hizo viatu ni
Doll shoes
zinakanga tu
zinakuanga
vibaya.
gani?
Those are the most comfortable
Hi.
shoes, bro. What do you mean? What? Are you mad?
For me, babes, as long as you're confident in what you wear,
Period.
I'm good. I'm good. For men, what I don't like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all go to the gym, but I mean, you know that you wanna
If you sneeze, the buttons are like,
Is there blood supply in your hand, my brother?
you know?
Yeah, it honestly never looks nice.
No,
I don't know.
it's
To
not.
me also
Honestly.
doesn't look nice, yeah.
And I feel like it's one of those things where a well-built guy wear an oversized shirt, it would be, because all you just want to show elements of your body that shows you're defined. It looks way better than,
Yeah, when you're
You know?
Tight and
or those two vests that look like thongs, you know? You're like, how is this even a vest now? It's just two strings over here and then one at the back.
like, I have a confession. So I bought one because like the gym, the buff guys used to have it. And I looked at it one day, I was going to wear it. Then I looked at it, I was just like, this is
nah,
not.
bro.
I just threw it away. I was like, this is not it, you know?
Nah, but a trend that you don't like on babes. He said, "Don't choose you."
Honestly, I like everything on babes.
Okay, let me ask you.
hey.
No, but honestly, I feel like if we get into it,
Yeah.
it's going to be wild.
No, just
No,
one.
let's go.
Just list one. It could go from nails to hair to shoes, clothes. Which one? One that you said you're just like, oh God, why did she do that?
He's analyzing all his babes to make sure.
Yeah.
Unaweza sema those clickety nails alafu mtu ako hapo sasa ndio anapaka. Watching the
Let me
board.
put it like this. I like, if I walk into a room, let me not say things I don't like. Let me
Okay.
say things I like,
Okay.
right? So if I walk into a room, there are certain females that will catch my eye, right?
Okay.
A female that is natural, first of all, catch my eye. That's natural hair, natural nails, whatever. Would catch my eye. A female that has glasses would catch my eye. A female that has, let's say, details on her hair, like, what do you call them? You know when it's black and then brown? Colored, I don't know what you
Like
call it.
highlights.
Highlights on hair, yeah. That will catch my eye. And I think the last one is I like a well-done bun like that. So
Hey.
But
That's
so
well,
fair.
well,
those are
that's well
things I
done. Now
like.
it's done.
In your Ombachi.
Oh my God, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for pulling up.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
for
yeah,
having
we
me.
hope next time when you open Kigali and Uganda, let's do something.
Hopefully.
Yes, sir.
That's
we
the
should
plan.
we should actually call dibs. The first hosting, if you ever decide to go into hosting,
Hosting what?
Mic Check should be the first host.
To host what?
Club appearance.
at the club.
Are you
whatever.
serious?
Yeah, dead
What?
ass.
That doesn't
No,
work.
no.
Doesn't work.
I've seen it. So the other day, so it comes back to trends, right?
Yeah.
The other day I had a meeting with AfriPods. And we're talking about the future of podcasting and everything like that, how that's going to be the next media wave, or
Yeah.
it already is, right?
Yeah.
I think in Kenya, we just got into a point where it's either we haven't fully understood
into
how
it,
to
yeah.
monetize
Yeah.
and fully get the results from it and everything like that, but we're slowly getting there. And I feel like podcasts are commanding a following. Now where you can host an event
Then
at
just pull up.
Ngong Race Course or something, and
Yeah.
you get 2,000 people,
Yeah.
3,000 people. So why not have that in a bar where you're having conversations, maybe you're selecting music, it can be themed and something like that.
Yeah.
And I tasked my marketing team, okay, come up with the 10 hottest podcasts and see what we can potentially do with them. So
that's fine.
that's also another thing.
We have hangout with so the guys who watch our show, we call them checkmates.
Yeah.
It's Mic Check. So we have a hangout with 300 checkmates coming up. We don't know the dates yet, but yeah, we could do something.
No, 100%.
Absolutely,
I'm more
yeah,
than
we could
open.
do something.
For sure. More than open, for sure.
What's the capacity for Kileleshwa?
It could hold seating,
Yeah,
400 people.
400 people.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be
Yeah.
perfect for.
Okay.
And it's a pajama party.
Yeah, we are doing a lazy Sunday,
Unless had
pajama,
pajamas or whatever.
chill thing. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll let you know.
Okay,
let
sounds
you
good.
know.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Owich episode
Thank you so
82.
much.
We are Mic Check.
26. This is
This is the Brunch Club. Over 26.
Welcome back to
The mics are closed.
Now, when you watch it, you'll understand.